The future is unpredictable. Your legacy shouldn't be. Protect your legacy and support the charities you love through planned giving. What is planned giving? A planned gift is any major gift other than an immediate gift of cash made as part of your overall financial and estate planning. Is planned giving right for you? You don't need to have extraordinary wealth to make a planned charitable gift. Even a small contribution can have a large impact over time. Planned giving might be right for you if you're willing to consider charitable plans that take place upon your death. Ensure your family and loved ones are cared for first. Guarantee you a lifetime stream of income. Most importantly, you don't have to choose between benefiting your family or charity. You can do both. There are several ways to give. Some planned gifts provide you with lifelong income, while others use estate and tax planning to provide for your charities and heirs in ways that maximize the charitable gift and/or minimize its impact on your estate. Whether personal property, appreciated securities or stock, real estate, life insurance, a retirement plan, family artwork, or other assets are used, the benefits of funding a planned gift can make planned charitable giving a very attractive and viable option for both you and the charities you care about. It's easy. We can help. A simple designation to Akron Community Foundation can bring incredible support to the charities you care about. Your planned gift can establish a charitable fund in your name that will give back to the causes you love forever. Together with your advisors, we can help you navigate your way through your charitable giving options and determine which legacy giving options work best for you. Ready to get started? Our staff welcomes the opportunity to chat with you about your vision to fulfill your philanthropic wishes in coordination with your overall financial and estate planning. Akron Community Foundation has a long history of creating strategies with individuals and professional advisors to define philanthropic legacies. Let us help build yours.
All right, thank you so much. We wanted to share that video that we had created a few months back, but thought it was very relevant based on our conversation that we're going to have today. As John mentioned, we have the great pleasure to be able to partner with so many agencies in the community in holding their assets in the form of an endowment fund. We also work with affiliate funds, and I know there are a number of those advisory board members on the call here, and they work very closely with my colleague Renee Sherrick as she develops the planned giving and major giving strategies that help you to be able to build those endowments. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining. We all know 2020 has been an extremely challenging year, and truly the survival of our organizations is the utmost importance. But we also have realized how important it is to be able to have an endowment to be able to rely on and fall back on, and knowing that we have that secured revenue stream or possibly an opportunity as a rainy day fund. And so that's why we wanted to welcome Amy Wong to talk about planned giving during the pandemic, because though our top priority is keeping the doors open and keeping those annual funds coming in the door, we cannot lose sight on thinking about the long-term success of our organizations. Amy has a strong history in the fundraising world. She's been the director of major gifts at Akron Children's Hospital, the director of major and planned gifts at the Cleveland Orchestra, and development director at Old Trail School. She has partnered with a number of organizations here in town and as the president and founder of .org. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce and pass it along to our great friend, Amy. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Akron Community Foundation, for inviting me to come and talk to you today. Planned giving is something that I truly love talking about, and I'm really looking forward to sharing some things with you over the next 30 minutes that hopefully will help you really accelerate your planned giving program. So as Brian mentioned, I have been doing fundraising for quite a long time, and 17 years actually in the nonprofit sector, and the last 11 years as the founder and owner of .org Solutions. So I have been really in many of your shoes, not just in the fundraising chair, but also in leadership chair. And so I'm hoping that some things that we talk about today are going to help you, and really, especially during this kind of crazy time. I think the one thing that's a little bit difficult probably right now to think about for many of you is that planned giving is probably the last thing on your mind if you're really concerned about making up revenue that may have been lost from events that didn't happen, or concerns about annual giving and where that is going to come from. But I'm going to explain to you why planned giving really is the most important right now, even if you can do it on a very small level. So what we're going to talk about today is really about getting to know your donor, knowing the lingo that is really important to know if you're going to be doing any type of planned giving. Keeping it simple. Planned giving can be very complex just by the nature of many of the things that are involved with it, but you can do some simple things that will help you and help your organization pretty easily. And then also capturing attention. So I know that is not spelled correctly, but I could not find another K word, so I just figured I would make mine up. So when I said that I think now is the time more than ever to really start to look at planned giving, right now, believe it or not, lawyers are seeing a huge surge in requests for wills and other estate planning matters. So I did a lot of research on this and found, especially from March until June, there was a huge influx of people who were actually going to see their estate planning attorneys. And I think as COVID continues to progress and people are starting to actually consider their own mortality, it's really important to be thinking about the fact that if they're going to see their attorneys and making changes to their estate plans, now is exactly the time when you should be in front of them and having that information out. So organizations that are out in front of people and are talking about planned gifts are the ones that are going to trigger those thoughts in their minds when they're actually going to see those attorneys. So the first thing I want to talk about is knowing your donor. And for anyone who has ever heard me speak, we are huge advocates of just having a clear understanding of who it is that you're talking to at any given time. And I love this quote from Seth Godin, who is a marketing guru and really talks a lot about customers and customer experience. And I think his quote is spectacular. So everyone is not your customer. And that holds true for donors. Not every donor is going to be your ideal planned giving donor. Not everyone on the planet is going to be your ideal donor to your organization. But when it comes to planned giving, it's even more important to be able to understand who those people are that you need and want to talk to. So how do you actually identify your ideal planned giving donor? Identifying that ideal planned giving donor requires a whole lot of things, but first and foremost, the people have to have philanthropic intent. So you can do all of the data mining and all the data segmentation all day long based upon your database, but if they don't have philanthropic intent and they have no intention of leaving anything to charity at their death or in an accelerated manner through a structured planned gift, then they're really not your ideal planned giving donor. So first and foremost, that person has to have philanthropic intent. The second thing you can really look for is regular donors who have given to you maybe for a low dollar amount, but for an extended period of time. These are the people who are very committed to your organization, but currently may not have the assets or the ability to make a gift to you on a much larger basis. These people also, though, have shown a commitment to you. So there is a great opportunity for you to talk to them about a bequest or other type of planned gift that they can continue on that legacy that they have really already started for a long time. One area that I think a lot of people don't look to is long-term volunteers. And I know right now it's tough because so many organizations have had to cut back on their volunteer programs just because of COVID, not being able to let people into the organizations. But I would take a serious look at long-term volunteers because Even though they may not have made a financial commitment to you, they've made a time commitment. And in their minds, that time commitment may be just as valuable or more valuable in their minds than writing a check. And so being able to talk to them about, again, continuing on the things that they're important to them, volunteers are a great, great resource. Obviously, people who are age 60 and older are the people who tend to be looking at a will or estate planning documentation. So those are people who are more inclined because their kids are out of the house, or they're thinking about retirement and they're trying to structure their financial and other paperwork to be able to do things. No children or empty nesters. This is a really interesting one. So I think a lot of times, and some of the plan giving donors that I've worked with over the years either have no kids, or all of their kids are gone and financially successful maybe in their own right. And they just don't either feel like, one, they may not have anybody, even nieces or nephews, to leave their estate to, or that they feel like their kids are well enough off and they've actually done enough for them over the years that they really want to give their money away to charity. Also, individuals who have never married and have no children, they're, again, great plan giving donors. And then donor verbal cues. I think one of the things that I always say when it comes to any kind of fundraising is listening is one of the best tools that you can have. And I'm going to read a couple of things to you that I have heard over the years, and I think are some just key triggers for identifying who some of your ideal plan and giving donors are. Someone may say something like, I'd like to make a gift, but I still need income now. Those people may be really great charitable gift annuity donors. I'd really like to do something and need the income after retirement, but I'm still working. Those people may be a great deferred gift annuity prospect. I really want to leave something to your organization, but I want to leave something for my children. There are quite a few options that are maybe good plan gifts for those individuals. So bequests, payable on death, a transfer on death. There could be life insurance policies, a lot of different things. I have a life insurance policy that I don't think I'll need. I don't have any children or spouse to leave my estate to. I'd really like to support the organization while I'm alive and leave something to my grandchildren after I'm gone. So that might be a charitable lead trust. So make sure that you're listening to verbal cues that your donors are giving you, because often those are great conversation starters, and they may just not know what it is that they can do. So ultimately, identifying plan giving donors requires great data segmentation, and overall an investment in relationships. One thing I'm going to mention also before I go to the next slide is that if you have any questions during my presentation, please feel free to put them in chat and we can answer those as we go along, but we're also going to leave time for questions at the end. So the next thing I think is important is being able to know the lingo. So Jeff Bezos, he's kind of a pretty well-known guy. He's doing pretty well, but in his case, he says that if you don't know the details of your business, you are going to fail. And the same holds true for plan giving. If you don't know the lingo, it's going to be impossible to have a conversation. But you don't have to be an estate planning attorney or someone who is an expert in plan giving to actually have a plan giving program at your organization. I just think that it's very important for everyone who is doing plan giving to just have a great basic knowledge of plan giving terms and processes. And what I've done on this slide, and actually the slides will be available to everyone for download and be able to get those after the presentation today if you'd like them. But there's some really great resources out there that are either low cost or free. Plangiving.com has this really great plan giving pocket guide that is, it has just a real easy guide on what different types of plan gifts are and scenarios that they may be useful. And they actually have two versions. They have a version for individuals, and then they have a version that you can buy specifically for your board. The pocket guide is $39.95. So I think if you're really looking at pushing plan giving out there as something for your organization, I think it's definitely a great investment. But some of the plan giving types that everyone should know, at least kind of semi how they're structured, or at least be able to talk about them, are bequests, charitable gift annuities, deferred charitable gift annuities, charitable remainder trusts, charitable remainder annuity trusts, charitable lead trusts, POD, TOD, things of that nature. Again, you don't have to be an expert on the structure of those particular things, but it's really important for you to have a good working knowledge of the different plan giving types. The next thing are plan giving terms. So these are things, again, that you don't have to be absolute experts on. You don't have to be the tax expert. You don't have to be the legal expert. That's why you pay those professionals to do that type of work. But some of the plan giving terms that are really important to know: capital gains, estate tax, the IRS discount rate, present value, future value, fair market value, revocable versus irrevocable, what is the beneficiary, and what's a contingent beneficiary. There's a whole bunch of different types of terms that are really that you should know, but those are just some general ones that are really important. And then also, there's lots of plan giving resources out there. Software companies PG Calc and Crescendo have a ton of free content that you can download just to give yourself some good basic information on plan giving. There's also, again, information at plangiving.com, and then through local estate planning councils and the National Association of Charitable Gift Planners. So there is just a plethora of resources out there that are available. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. And again, just kind of start small. So as I said, and I'll reiterate this, you don't have to be an expert in order to have a plan giving program, but you do need to know enough to have an intelligent conversation, because people will see through that. So the next thing I want to talk about is keeping it simple. And simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And I really look at plan giving as a very sophisticated giving vehicle. And when done right, it is really beautiful to see in action. You are able to work with the donor to help them fill lifelong dreams and goals. You are able to do some phenomenal things for your organization. You're able to align what the donor wants with your mission. And when those kinds of things happen, and you see the light in the eyes of a plan giving donor who knows that the money that they have worked their entire life to earn, in many cases, is going to go to something that they feel passionate about, it's just, there's nothing like it. I have always loved working in plan giving, and I just think it's a great giving vehicle. So what do you need to know to keep it simple? Again, for those of you who have heard me speak before, we're huge fans of plans here at .org Solutions, and everything that you do should have a plan behind it. So make a plan that's measurable. So maybe the plan, your measurable plan says, we want to call X amount of donors who might be plan giving prospects to have that conversation. We may want to call X number of donors who have made plan giving commitments in the next, in the next 10 days, just to check on them and see how they're doing. You might want to just say, we're going to pull data from our CRM, our donor database, every quarter to see if, what kind of plan giving prospects that we can add into our pipeline. So just as long as it's measurable, you can really see whether it's going forward or you're not. Strengthen relationships. I mean, plan giving is really all about relationships. So make sure that you're sending cards regularly. Let people know that you're thinking about them. I would venture to guess that if you do have people who have already made plan giving commitments to you, they may be older, probably likely are older right now, especially given all of the new recent shutdown requirements and not quarantines. Well, people are quarantined. You may have people who are lonely to begin with and now will become further isolated and would probably just light up with the fact that you're giving them a phone call and checking in and see how they are. And they probably would really like to know, especially if they're made a plan gift to you, how you're doing too. So this is a two-way conversation that you can have where you're you're talking to them and checking in with them, but then also a great opportunity for you to solidify that relationship with them. Listen, I can't stress this enough. Plan giving does take a lot of patience, not just in terms of how long it may take for a particular gift to be structured, but plan giving donors, again, tend to be older, maybe retired, don't have obligations of kids and work, and they have a little more time on their hands than maybe the regular donors that you're working with, but know their intentions. Look at their, look at what it is that they are interested in, find out how they want their gift to be used after they're gone. And to try to document that kind of thing so that you know their interests and intentions. Provide resources that are easy to read and understand. I see so many things on plan giving that are very, very, very difficult. I love the presentation or the video that ACF did about plan giving. It's easy to understand. So make sure that whatever you're pushing out there is not about the complexities and tax benefits of a charitable lead annuity trust in a pandemic, though that might be great reading for an estate planning attorney, for a high wealth individual who really just wants to know that they want to give some money now and then leave their grandchildren money. Those are going to be different audiences. Don't promote what you can't manage. So, taking, let's say, charitable lead trust, for instance, if you can't manage charitable lead trust within your organization, or you can't manage complex gift arrangements, don't promote them. Stick with some things that are just very basic, and make sure that you can manage what you promote. And then always consult with professional advisors. We're very lucky here in the greater Akron area, and actually Northeast Ohio in general. There are a lot of extraordinarily qualified estate planning attorneys, accountants who have experience in nonprofit and estate planning, and then also financial advisors. Consult them. Hopefully you have some of those people or people with access to those experiences on your boards. So always consult them for advice. And again, just don't get hung up on knowing how to structure a charitable remainder trust or run calculations on a charitable gift annuity if you don't have to. So the last thing I want to talk about, and then we can go to questions, is capturing attention. So I always think this is an interesting stat, and we continue to look at this, that in 2020, the average person encounters between 6,000 to 10,000 ads every single day, which is nearly double than what we saw in 2007. And if you think about that, 6,000 to 10,000 ads a day is an extraordinary distraction for all of us. Then you take in social media, and you take in our email, and you take in any other news feeds and blogs and all the other kinds of things that are reading, and people are preoccupied. So you have lots of competition, not only from other nonprofits and for plan giving dollars. You actually have competition from people and businesses that are trying to sell your consumers goods. So your job is to be seen in a crowded space while still conveying trust. So a couple things that you can do to capture attention is make sure that know that people's attention is tied to connection. So make sure you're making connections with people, and not just telling them why a gift is, or how to make a gift, but explain why that gift is important to you and how you can align their gift, what they want to do with their gift with what they want to do philanthropically. So you have the structure part, and you also have the philanthropic part of it. So make sure that you're promoting simple, timely, relevant, and beneficial gift options. So things that you might want to promote right now would be IRA rollovers for donors 70 and over. But do keep in mind that through the CARES Act, people are not required to take required minimum distributions this year. So they may be wanting to hold on to cash. So that's something to think about. If your organization is not accepting stock gifts, you have to do, I can't stress this enough, make sure you're equipped to accept stock gifts. As Jim talked about the markets, even though they've been volatile this year, are still up in many instances. And there are people who may be hoarding cash, like he talked about with ACF hoarding a little more cash, and maybe like many of your nonprofits. But stock gifts are an excellent way for people who might be hoarding cash to make gifts to your organization. They're relatively straightforward to do, and they may give your donors some opportunities to give larger amounts. Bequests are pretty simple, especially with a lot of people working on their estate planning right now. And then also beneficiary designations, which often just are maybe changing a name on a form or having somebody request a form for beneficiary designation from a retirement plan, a life insurance policy, and things like that. Show how plan giving can meet a donor's philanthropic and financial goals. I've talked about this quite a bit already in this presentation, so I'm not going to talk about that more, but ultimately their philanthropic goals and financial goals are what you have to think about. Don't forget to tell your story. Again, we can get hung up in talking about the complexities of a gift or the financial benefits of a particular gift, but don't forget to talk about yourselves and why you are important and why you are relevant and why their gift matters. And in that story, make sure you're showing impact and the need for long-term support. So, those are things that a lot of donors are looking for. They're looking for impact. They want to know that their gift is making a difference. And don't forget when you're making those phone calls to tell your donors how much you value them. I think right now we all need a little bit of boost and just the ability to feel like we are needed and we're valued, especially when things are so up in the air. Any kind of thing like that where we can feel good about ourselves is certainly a boost for all of us. And then if you don't have a plan giving society, establish one and find ways to nurture those people that are in that society. So I will tell you that a majority of plan gifts are revocable. So if you have people in your plan giving society and you have not been nurturing them or paying attention to them, they can always change their mind. So those same people who may be on your plan giving society list right now may also be visiting their estate planning attorneys, and if they have not heard from you, they may actually be changing their beneficiary designation. So think about that too, that if you have a plan giving society, make sure you're nurturing those people within the society. So just to kind of sum things up, and we've got a couple of minutes here, just to recap, so identify your ideal plan giving donors, have a good basic knowledge of plan giving terms and processes, make sure you're focusing on donor intent and needs, and don't forget that people's attention is tied to connection, and make sure you're forging those relationships as much as possible. So I'm happy to take any questions right now. And so please go ahead and put those in the chat. And for those of you who are interested in connecting with me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or email me. You can also follow us on .org Solutions on our social media and our blog. We actually are pretty frequent posters on a lot of things related to leadership, nonprofit leadership, giving, marketing, and everything nonprofits. And then if you're interested in other ongoing free education, we do have some upcoming webinars on December 1st and 15th. So at this point, I will be happy to take any questions.
And thank you, Amy, for sharing this information with us today. I think I would add, and this is Brian here again, going along with your theme of the Ks, it's a captive audience right now, right? I mean, can you speak to maybe what you can do at this time as we are all still socially isolated more than we might want to be? What are some great, what are some strategies that maybe you have thought about or utilized with your team to take advantage of the fact that there is a captive audience sitting at home that you can maybe reach out to, as opposed to trying to get in touch with somebody you never knew?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think first and foremost, if you haven't really taken time to nurture the people who are still close to you, I think that's the first thing that you can do. And I know because we've had to do the same thing with our business is, we've had to make sure that we've taken care of everything that needs to be taken care of. So in that case, for many nonprofits, it's the clients that you serve or the patients that you serve or the people in the community that you serve. And, you know, and so it's sometimes it's difficult to think of doing something new. So, you know, making sure you kind of take a step back and figure out ways to find connection. I think that's what we're all missing right now. I think, you know, there's just like the word divisiveness, I think is really, you know, obviously a popular word right now. I also think that people, and this was just a word thing I came up, is decision fatigue. You know, we've all had to make a lot of decisions lately based upon information that we don't know, right? And things that we don't know, and not being able to have control is very hard for us. So, you know, as you're going out to donors, try to make things as easy as possible for them so that they don't have to think about it too hard or make too many decisions. Be sensitive. Also, too, I think a lot of people that are on social media are kind of disgruntled right now. And you know, that disgruntledness carries through a little bit. So relationships. I can't stress that one enough.
Yeah, I know. I'll certainly agree with you on that one. You know, can you? I was thinking about, you know, how um, it's just a great time to be able to share the story of your organization to people. And you know, what would you say to somebody who says that, you know, this is not the right time to ask for money, let alone, you know, talking about, you know, long-term planning? Because we heard that a lot early on too, is that, you know, well, maybe my organization isn't as important as somebody that's, you know, providing food or shelter. Um, you know, and I think it's the exact opposite reaction. What do you say, Amy?
I agree with you. I just think overall the organizations who continue to show their value, um, no matter what you do, you know, organizations that continue to show their value are going to come out of this, and they're going to come out of it maybe battered. I think we're all going to come out of this a little bit battered, right? I mean, it's been tough, mentally, physically, emotionally. Um, you know, I think all organizations have, all nonprofits have a key role in making our communities better places. And I think, you know, whether you're feeding the hungry, which right now I know is a big thing, or, you know, there's a lot around homelessness and domestic violence, and those are amazing causes, but the arts also create huge vibrancy in our communities, and our communities are better because of it. So I would say the organizations who may not have a COVID related emergent need that they are helping to serve doesn't make them less important. I think that those organizations really need to actually probably be even more proactive in how they are marketing themselves and those conversations that they're having with those donors. And those donors, you know, those answers right now may not be, no, we can't support, it may be we can't do it now, but it doesn't mean we're not going to be able to do it later. So the more open conversations you have with donors, I think the more successful you're going to be.
Yeah, I agree. And again, thank you. We want to be mindful of everybody's time. And so we've run a little bit over an hour for the entirety here. We will send out some information after this is over, certainly providing Amy's information and an opportunity for you to ask any additional questions that maybe were not able to come through today. Please know, as organizations that we partner with, you know, I am here for all of our agency endowments to work hand in hand with you. Akron Community Foundation is committed to be your partner, you know, certainly now and into the future. And again, I'll mention my colleague Renee Sherrick for all of our affiliate fund advisory members who are on the line, because she does great work and, you know, is always willing to be able to sit and strategize and you know, take the words that Amy has shared with us and put them into action, because it truly is a you know, a blessing to be able to work with so many philanthropic minded individuals in Summit and Medina counties. There are so many great causes and great organizations doing work that's needed. And it's going to be a tough year, everybody, but we're going to get through it together. So please never hesitate to reach out to us. And on behalf of all of the board and staff of Akron Community Foundation, thank you very much for joining us and have a wonderful day.